So now we'll jump over to introducing today's guest interviewee. For the first time in our podcast, we're bringing someone else in, and his name is familiar to most coin collectors and dealers, John Albanese of Certified Acceptance Corporation, or CAC. So, John, thank you for joining us today on our podcast. As founder of several companies, including Numismatic Consumer Alliance, what do you feel is one of the biggest issues facing the average coin buyer today, and how can dealers address this?
Well, I would say 90% of our cases today, I would probably classify them as elder abuse. I would have said 20 years ago was different. I really believe the power of the internet and the power of devices being friendly for even people like in my generation. Most people know how to go to Google and search for something. So if anything, dealers are complaining about that on the other end because the markups are very slim. If a dealer wants $2,000 for a coin, today's buyer goes to the internet, he might find on eBay for $200 less. Or so, as you know, it's no big secret. The internet has certainly brought margins down. Now, I believe the elderly are probably more susceptible because many are still just not internet savvy, even in this day and age. And I have 3 cases on my desk right now, unfortunately, with victims in their 90s. So again, it's at the point now where we have I would say the amount of cases I'm getting every year or referrals are probably down about 80%.
No, that's good.
And again, but most of them are for elderly abuse.
Right, I agree. Those are the stories that I'm reading about all too often in the national press and in the numismatic press as well. Switching gears, a decade on since the inception of CAC, or Certified Acceptance Corp., how has your concept developed in the marketplace? I mean, has it developed the way you have envisioned it? Do you have any ideas for how it diverged from your original plan?
Well, it's pretty much as I envisioned it. I mean, at the point when CAC was incepted in late 2007, I had certain pet peeves, and one of them would be one of my favorite series, let's say a lettered edge bust half, an MS65. And at the time, there was a $5,000 bust half, and there was an $8,000 MS65, and maybe 30 or 40 dealers or a dozen collectors can differentiate the difference, but probably thousands of collectors couldn't, and hundreds of dealers couldn't. So it was for a consumer to go to a coin show and pick up a beautiful bust half in a showcase, and it's priced at $9,000, and maybe 3 or 4 showcases away, another dealer has one for about half the price. And really, that was the whole reason for the inception of CAC, was to formalize and differentiate, the A and B coin, as we say, to the coin that barely made the grade. And I think in that sense, I think we have been successful. What I'm a little bit surprised about. Really is the way it's been marketed, and we seem to be pretty popular, maybe a little too popular. Now we're getting in a 3060 San Diego and 65, and that's a coin where, in my opinion, not really a big difference in price and market value between a B coin and a C coin. Yet we're getting those coins in, so not nearly as exciting for me to look at a San Diego as a gem bust half, but I'm somewhat disappointed in the last 2 or 3 years old, and I should say it's probably a good thing, because I could say in all honesty that rare coins really are rare, and I got to tell you, the first 2 or 3 years of CAC, we got a lot of great coins and better date saints, high-end type coins, and the last 2 or 3 years, I feel like I'm looking at Franklin halves and I'm looking at Wisconsin commends, and again, nothing wrong with those coins, but I almost feel, and it's hard to quantify, but I would guess 80 or 90% of the better coins that have been in the marketplace for the last 23 years, I feel like we've seen them already, and it makes me realize now that coins are much scarcer than I originally had. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have probably overestimated the amount of coins out there. Now I'm saying there are probably fewer, because again, what I'm seeing coming in is quite disappointing.
You've seen them all, and I'm probably going to be unpopular for suggesting this, but if you raise the price of your inexpensive tier for submissions, you'll probably reduce the amount of San Diegos and inexpensive Cams and 3060 Walkers by changing that metric, and maybe that's what you need to do. I don't know.
Yeah, and we have raised the price slightly over the years, but then again, I don't want CAC to be just a club for the elitists and for the top 1%. We really want it to we wanted to serve as many collectors as possible. And on the San Diego, you have a point, yes, but I do believe on an AU58 must have, there's now a differentiation. There's a $900 coin and there's a $500 coin, believe it or not. So
I understand it completely.
We really can control what people submit. I guess by raising the price, we can control it a bit. But like I said, we don't want to profiteer.
It's, and I know you well enough to know that's your philosophy, and I think it's very noble. It's just, like you said, it's just hard to, when you realize that there's just not that many great fresh coins out there. There's a very finite number of them, and the known collections that are out there have mostly been you've probably looked at a lot of them, and there's probably not a lot more to see.
Yeah, it seemed that way, and especially, and even so on things like better date Saints, I sort of took it for granted. Like I could always buy even a slightly better date, like an 11p or a 14p and 65. I mean, when CAC was first started, I felt like we stickered dozens of them, and they were always available. And now it's like every 3 years I sticker one. And in fact, I think the other day a 30S came in at 66. I almost fell off my chair because I had seen it and handled a few in the early 2010 area, but then for a 10-year period didn't even see one. So it's really quite amazing how the better coins have been tried. That really is.
Yeah, interesting. And I didn't realize that we would get on that topic today. So that's a fascinating subject.
Yeah.
Another question I have for you today is, with the first, this is a little more prescient, is the first quarter of 2018 is now behind us. And a typical question from an interviewer like myself is, what coins that you think are hot in the market? And while that's a bit of a cliche, let me just ask you what coins that you would really like to buy that are easiest for you to sell in the current market.
Well, I mean, I've always had an easier time with the more expensive coins. I really feel like even though statistically the economy has rebounded, I still think there are a lot of upper middle class Americans struggling, whether it's through higher medical costs or college tuition or wages really haven't kept up with inflation. It still seems to me that the top 1% is still strong, and the coins from really from 10 or 20,000 up to 500,000 are really the best sellers. It amazes me how it's quite a challenge sometimes for me to sell what I consider a blue chip type coin, like a Peru 66 3-cent nickel. It's a challenge for me to sell them, for $600, yet $600,000 coin flies off the shelf. It's kind of bizarre.
Right, that is interesting. That's a sort of the hourglass shape of the economy hitting home in a discretionary collecting hobby like rare coins.
Sure.
Yeah, it's only getting worse. Of course, we see paintings selling in the $100 million range. Yet it's hard to sell a painting for $5,000. So
yeah. And again, if I were an investor today, I would be buying bushels of the coins under 1,000, silver commemoratives, proof. 3-cent nickels, shield nickels, V nickels, even mint state. I would buy. There's a basket of coins, Peru 67, Walkers, Mercury dimes. There's so many great coins under 1,000. They used to be a multiple, and it's much more difficult to spend 500,000 in that type of a basket than it would to be one single coin, obviously.
Exactly. Good point. That's maybe we can follow up with that. I don't want to take a lot of your time today, so I thank you for joining us. One other topic that I want to rejoin in a future conversation is the hot topic of gradeflation, so I'm going to save that for a future day. And also maybe we'll delve more into your favorite coins under $1,000. That sounds like a good subject for a future conversation. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
All right, take it easy. Bye.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Today's podcast has been sponsored and brought to you in part by David Lawrence Rare Coins, serving collectors since 1979. They can be found at www.davidlawrence.com.